Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back. The Ball Don't Lie Pod, episode 7. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're back. To try to, took some time off to reconsider some things, but we're back. How we doing? Shout out. Where is it? Shout out Anakin. Shout out to Shift God, Shaquille Oatmeal, Tyler, and also Man Mental Legend Coach Walk. Appreciate you guys. Hello, Derek. Welcome. All right. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Detroit's #1 Rams fan. Well, there's some news that broke today that I'm gonna go over, but I'm feeling confident. Not cocky, but confident. A couple things I'm a little worried about, but I have confidence in the boys. All right. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Episode 7. As you can see by the title, I've gone through I've done stat projections for all of the starting quarterbacks this year, or at least the projected starters. So yeah. We're gonna go over that. And yeah, Alaric Jackson is out. It's not confirmed that Havenstein's out, but yeah. The vibes aren't ideal. I won't lie. The vibes aren't ideal. Wait a couple minutes, let people join. Then we'll get cracking with some of the news. 9 people in here. Hell yeah. Let's go. How we doing? How are we doing? So I'll explain my plans for the schedule at the end of the video, or at the end of the stream. I gotta get a haircut soon. Jesus. It's definitely the fake Anakin. Didn't play last week, I don't think, but Jerverse has been killing at practice. He's been cooking at practice. Feel great about how he's gonna do. So let's get into some of the news that came out today about my Los Angeles Rams. Not all great stuff. So today, the Rams made a transaction that hasn't exactly gone down too well with the fan base. They have traded middle linebacker Ernest Jones to the Tennessee Titans. And as you can see, the Rams, they traded away a 2026 6th round pick, and all they got back was a 2026 5th round pick for Ernest Jones. And personally, as a Rams fan, I hate the trade. I don't like it at all. If you don't love the player, if there are some injury concerns with him, fine. But you got to get more than a 2026 5th round pick in return from him, in my opinion. Les Snead, in terms of trading players away, hasn't exactly done a great job. A couple years ago, I traded away Jalen Ramsey for a 3rd round pick and Hunter Long, a tight end who still hasn't seen the field. I mean, you don't even get a draft pick from this year's draft class. You get one from 2 years from now. It's not a great move. And Ernest Jones, really, this year, I believe, is about to kind of take the reins of this defense a little bit with Aaron Donald's absence. He was really going to be the vocal leader and really the team captain of this defense. Last year, 145 solo tackles, was 5th in sacks and 1st in pressures amongst all linebackers. Weakness was in coverage, but he was still one of the best blitzing linebackers in the league and a great run defender. And you gave him up for a 2026 5th. I don't like the trade details now. There is an interesting and maybe more positive turn to this. this does show that Les Snead and Sean McVay actually spoke on this and said that he's very confident in the team that they have, which I think is the second part of this that you have to think of, which is the new linebackers that they've played in preseason. Clearly, Les and Sean feel very confident in those guys. Omar Spates, the UDFA out of LSU, he's been one of the more hyped up, if not the most hyped up Ram from the preseason. He's an undrafted free agent out of LSU. He was fantastic in the preseason, the highest graded linebacker in the preseason. And it looks as if, guys like him, Christian Roseboom, who played alongside Ernest Jones, and guys like Jake Hummel, who have also had a nice preseason, they're putting a lot of faith in those guys. And as much as I do love what Omar Spates brought to the table, and guys like Jake Hummel brought to the table in preseason, it is preseason, so you do have to question how they'll translate into being starters. But clearly, Sean McVay and Les Snead feel confident. So if they feel confident in those players, so do I. I just don't like the return. I don't like the trade at all. I think it's bad business. He does have a lingering knee problem, and the Rams do have a history of not extending their inside linebackers. That is a position that they haven't valued a lot. They let Corey Littleton go, and now Ernest Jones. And they've listed Kobe Turner and Quentin Lake as the defensive captain. So clearly the vocal presence will shift from Ernest to Kobe and Quentin. But I like the players that they have. I have faith. The Rams last year had a bunch of guys that we hadn't really heard of, and they're still able to play well, and they're still able to perform. They're going to have to do that again at linebacker. I like Omar Spates. I like Jake Hummel. I don't love what they gave up or what they got in return. I'm not huge on it, and it immediately does make the defense a little bit worse right away, and especially facing off against the Lions, who are a run-first team, it makes stopping the run a lot harder for them. So that's another headache that the Rams are going to have to deal with week 1 and throughout the season, going up against running backs like James Conner, Kenneth or Walker, and CMC twice a year. Omar Spates, Jake Hummel, Roseum, these guys will need to step up and play a big role right away. Clearly, they believe in them, so I'm behind them, but I don't like the trade. And along with it, this just adds more pressure to this new pass rush, right? Guys like Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Byron Young, they were already under pressure to step up with the loss of Aaron Donald. Now you don't have your middle linebacker. Those guys need to make even more of an impact. And so I'm not a fan. If you don't love the player, fine, but you got to get at least a third or a fourth back or a player. A 2026 fifth is really not good enough for a player of Ernest Jones's caliber, in my opinion. He's probably a top 12 linebacker in the NFL, so I'm not a fan of it. But we shall see how this ultimately pans out. I'm not big on it. And also, I was able to find the silver linings with the Ernest Jones stuff. I can't find any silver lining with this right here. What the hell? Kyren Williams will be returning punts for the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay says it's another opportunity for him to get touches and impact the game, and you feel comfortable with that because of the confidence in Blake Corum and Ronnie Rivers being able to spell him if need be. I hate this. I don't understand it. I think that you have guys like Tutu Atwell, who, in my opinion, would be perfectly fine doing punt returns. And on top of that, Kyren Williams is running back that has already had some injury concerns throughout his career. And he was the third most important player on this team last year. The team went as he went. I don't know if that makes sense, but if Kyren Williams gets hurt on a punt return, then it will massively backfire. I hate this. I really do. This is gonna make me extremely nervous. Hopefully, he just does a lot of fair catches, but I don't understand why. You're just asking for him to get injured. Like, even if even if, putting one of your main starters at punt returning at all is interesting. Putting one that's the only concern about him is injuries as your punt returner is well, like, I understand, like, you Lions fans have the same thing, trust in Brad, trust in Dan, but, I have 100% trust in Sean McVay and Les Snead. I don't know what this I don't agree with this. I don't see the even if he's good at it, I don't think he'd be any better of a punt returner than Tutu Atwell, and I just and, the injury risk for me is just I don't like it. I don't like it at all, and neither do the majority of Rams fans. To Tyler's point, I think Tutu Atwell is more he's faster, so we'd have, like you don't want Kyron's fast, but Tutu with that speed, he can take it to the house, you know? Yeah, I'd rather Puka as well. I do trust him, but a lot of criticize him on a couple of things. It's not that Kyron Williams can't be a good returner. I just don't think the risk to reward factor is there. The reward, you get a good punt returner. I think you would have a good punt returner with Tutu Atwell anyway. And the risk is you're losing one of your best playmakers on offense. So I'm not a huge fan. Don't like it at all. That scares the crap out of me, to be completely honest with you. He's a madman. He's a madman. Yeah, it's the risk to reward factor I don't like. Like if Tutu's our number 4 receiver. With all due respect to Tutu, if he goes down, it's not the end of the world. If Kyron goes down, I understand you got Blake Corum there, but Kyron was the second best running back in football last year, and when Kyron was on the field last year, the Rams averaged 27 points per game. Without him, they averaged 14 points per game last year, and I understand that might not be as in balance with Blake Corum there now, but like much rather Tutu. Yeah, man, like the reward, you get a great punt returner. Awesome. The risk, one of your best players is injured. Yeah, exactly, man. Like Corum's good. He's not Kyron Williams. And Kyron Williams, running backs, you have to make the most of them when they're in their prime because they're not in their primes for long. And Kyron's already had injury problems at times. So with this, you're just asking for him to be another Todd Gurley, in my opinion. The risk, like I said, the risk to reward factor isn't there for me. I don't like it personally. Not been too much reports on Corum. They do like him a lot, and he hasn't played at all in the preseason. So if you know how McVay operates, that means he trusts him. So does this move lead you to believe Corum will get an uptick? Sorry, the comment killed me there. It's weird because nobody thinks higher of Kyron Williams than Sean McVay. If you listen to him talk, he thinks the world of Kyron Williams. But I still think the split will be maybe 70-30. I've always thought Kyron will get 17, 18 a game. Corum will get 5, 6, 7. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. With the way he phrased it, talking about you feel confident in Blake Corum and Ron Rivers, that makes me think that maybe he doesn't value Kyron as much as he did last year because of the people that they brought in. But I'm not sure. Even if Blake Corum has impressed you, you have to use that as almost like a Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell thing. Like there's one clear featured back. Like if anything, I think it would be like Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Like Braylon Allen might get touches, but Breece Hall is still the guy. That's how I think it should be, and I think it will be like that regardless. But I don't love Kyron returning punts. I wouldn't want. I know they had Cup Do it for a little bit. At least, I don't know. I've got PTSD from Todd Gurley. Like, I don't like, and I've got PTSD from Cam Akers as well. We've had 2 running backs get completely deteriorated because of injuries. I don't want it to happen again. Like, he is playing with fire. That's the perfect way to describe it. I don't like it. I don't like it, man. Do not like it. But it's not been a great day for my Rams, honestly, man. Ernest Jones going for that, and then Kyren Williams. God. Running back 3 is Ronnie Rivers, who's been with us forever. Let me look up. Ronnie Rivers, been with us for a couple years, and it's kind of been like he's been the third, fourth string guy. They picked Ronnie Rivers over Boston Scott, which is interesting, but Ronnie Rivers is fine. Yeah, me too. I don't think this isn't to say Kyron can't be a good punt returner because he's got great vision, so he could easily weave his way through, but I don't see the reward to it. Like, them punt returners, they get whacked. I'm glad it isn't kickoff returner, though, because he'd be returning almost every one. With punts, you're not guaranteed to return every one, are you? So, yeah, man. It's not worth it, man. Like, if it's Tutu, fine. Like, I think Tutu would be just as good. If you think about it, you compare Tutu and Kyron. I think Tutu would be just as good a punt returner because he's got that, like, he can fly. And number 1, he's not as injury prone. And number 3, if he goes down, you still got Puka, Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, and Jordan Whittington who can fill in. With like the drop off from Tutu to whoever your other wide receiver 4 is, Jordan Whittington, it's not a big drop. The drop off between Kyron and Corum will be, it might not be massively steep, but it's going to be noticeable. Like, not everybody can just run in and get 5 yards of carry like Kyron did last year. Yeah, Tutu, man. Use Tutu as like, because they don't use him a ton as a receiver. I've always thought they've underused Tutu. So this could be a thing for him to like really be like a weapon, you know? And Kyron's the engine of your offense. I hate it. Just like I would hate if I have a question. If Jahmyr Gibbs was returning punts for you guys, how would you feel? And he hasn't had the injury issues yet that Kyron has. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you d Who is your guys' punt returner gonna be? Yeah, exactly. I like Sean, but that scares me, especially because I have a bet with Lucas about Kyren Williams. That might screw me. Yeah, that's true. He definitely wouldn't do this if Blake Corum wasn't there, but even still, Khalif? Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Khalif. See, that's the perfect guy for a punt returner. Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond and Tutu are like the same. Wide receiver 3 at the max. I don't like that at all. But we'll get into my stat projections for quarterbacks in a minute. We'll get to that. Even JMO, yeah. I wouldn't risk it with JMO. Not a good day for the Rams. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to the Rams lines, I'm not exactly 10 toes down. I'm like 7 toes down. I don't know if you watch First Things First with Chris Broussard. He always does like the 10 toes down when he's confident. I'm not 10 toes down. I'm like 7 or 8. I still think we can get out of there with the win, but without Ernest Jones, it makes it a little bit harder. We're going to have to score 30. I still think this Rams defense can be good. But Ernest Jones, hopefully Omar Spates can really be good. I think they're putting faith in their young guys. Omar Spates, Jake Humble, you guys probably never heard of them. They've been great in preseason. They're gonna put their faith in those guys. McVay and Snead put their faith in a lot of young guys last year. Guys like Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Quentin Lake, Russ East. Those guys actually played very well, right? And the thing is, they always tend to like Omar Spates is already like 23, so he's not like super raw. Obviously, there's a reason he was undrafted, but as long as he can be serviceable. But I hate the return though. Like it's 2026 fifth. There must be something else going on. Maybe he was a head case in the locker room. Maybe he was a pain for the contract negotiations. He does have a lingering knee thing. Maybe not lingering, but and the linebacker, you are kind of a car crash away from, Ernest Jones' knee injury. Yeah, he has had a knee problem. He dealt with a knee injury in the middle of last year. Yeah, has to be. I understand you don't value linebackers much, but damn, 2025 fifth or 2026 fifth. I don't know about that. Don't know about that. But I like Omar Spates a lot. He's been great in preseason. I have all confidence in him. I'm just a little worried because yeah, they are a little replaceable unless you have like a Fred Warner. But Ernest Jones was damn good. Got 2 sacks on Jared Goff in that game. We'll see. We'll see. I think the secondary and especially the pass rush will have to step up. I'm telling you, man, the Titans might not. They've made some moves, low key. They could be a sleeper. I'm not gonna lie to you. If Will Levis pans out, watch out. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man, Tennessee's low key doing good. They're doing some good stuff. I like what they're doing. Yeah, they are, man. They could. That division's kind of stacked, low key. That might not be as much of a gimme for the Bears as I thought it would be. That defense could give Caleb. Not gonna lie. If you look at the Bears' schedule, they could start 1-3 or 0-4 very easily if things don't go well. That's funny. I realize I haven't been looking into the camera. I should look into the camera more. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I should look into the damn. Why do I never look into the camera? I always look at myself in the screen. Forget I have a camera there. Damn, I'm an idiot. Yeah, they're the definition of like a 9-8. They really are. I'm an idiot. Thanks, Derek. Okay, we'll get into the stat projections now. Any more Rams questions? If you have any more, I'll get to them, and then we'll do the quarterback projections. You think? Broder. What up, brother? Hey, Broder, I might have you on the show next week to preview the game if you want, if you have time. I just covered it. Don't know, man. I'm not a fan. Colts. Latu is great. The Colts will be good as well. That whole division is low key sneaky. My camera quality still good. Oh, what the hell's going on? Oh, okay. Yes, sir. In case you wondered where I was taking a few days off to reconsider some things. I realized that 5 days a week was a bit much for me. So I'm probably going to do, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday from now on. Camera quality is going a little weird. Let me see if I can Thanks a little better. Brody, you're not feeling good? Hell yeah. 11 people. Let's go. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, how do y'all feel about Tim Patrick? My dumbass. I didn't realize that he had been. By the way, Broder, there's a fake Anakin in here. That's a whole thing. Tim Patrick Willis. Aye. Yeah. I mean, it's a low. I don't understand why people wouldn't be happy with it because it's a low risk. It's a low risk move, you know. Yeah, he's taking the piss. It's a whole thing, Broder. Oh my god. Exactly. That's oh shoot, wrong one. Yeah, I agree. By the way, guys, how's the Wi-Fi working? I'm doing it on the house Wi-Fi for the first time. Is it working good? It's not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can we like address Wi-Fi is good? Hell yeah. Can we just like address the possibility, like, of how? I guess because Sam Laporte is there, but like, do we think that outside of St. Brown, this wide receiver core can hold up? I don't think it's a huge issue because you guys are a run first team, but JMO isn't guaranteed to be like this beast. So, like, if St. Brown goes down for a couple games, are we confident in the guys that can step up? Isaiah Williams looked good in preseason, didn't he? But like, if St. Brown goes down for a game, are we confident in the rest of the receivers? Because your guys' receiving core depth is questionable, in my opinion. Which, I mean, that's the only part of your offense that has question marks. Really, is the receiver depth. But clearly, that's fair. Yeah, and yeah, that's true. Laporta, yeah, that's fair. Definitely, JMO isn't guaranteed. You're right, but Cleve Raymond, yeah, it's kind of like it's like with the Rams, like when they got rid of Ernest Jones. Clearly, they feel confident in those other guys, so I back them. I back them. Yeah, and you guys can run the ball as well. You know, I'd be more concerned if Hutch goes down for you guys personally. Yeah, Laporta would need to be getting fed. Laporta was such a hit, man. How'd you guys pull that off? I mean, that draft, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta, and Branch. Jeez, you guys cleaned house, man. You guys cleaned house. Man, it's crazy. Your guys' drafting has been unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. All right, let's get into these projections in a minute. Shout out to the tenant viewer who are in here. It's a crazy draft class. I need to get a haircut soon. Yeah, Jack Campbell as well. Jack Campbell as well. Don't forget about him. Lions fans, isn't it good to be a fan of? I don't know about mine now, but isn't it good to be fans of teams that have front offices that just know what they're doing, like draft wise? Like we've drafted Kyron, Puka, Kobe Turner, Steve Avila. Like it just feels good. And even when they do something questionable, like this Ernest Jones stuff, you still kind of trust them. I don't know much about Jack Campbell, to be honest. I'm still not great at evaluating defensive players. It is. It's nice. You can just relax, not have to worry about it. You guys get to see my skinny ass arms there. You get in the gym. Yeah. Yeah, head coach, yeah. Why did this Ernest Jones thing need to pop up? 2 weeks before the season as well? I don't know why. Vibes haven't been great. Yeah. Must still be good. Yeah. Dude, enjoy it. Enjoy it. I'm buff. Probably anything but buff. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy being at the top. Welcome. I'm at like ultimate effort mode. Like we've already won our Super Bowl. I don't care anymore. Spielman, fair play to him. Okay, let's get into these stat projections. I've done stat projections for every starting quarterback in football. Done it on a Google Slides. We're doing a slideshow here. I won't be reading the chat, unfortunately, because it does a full screen of the slideshow. But you guys feel free to interact. Let's do this. If you win the Super Bowl, I think it would be. It would be sick. I'm not gonna lie. There's two sides of me. The nice person in me would love to see you guys win it, just because I really like Jared Goff, and I would love to see Jared Goff win a Super Bowl, just from like a personal level. I've always really liked the guy, and I'd be happy for you guys, just like watching you guys be all like, specifically you guys and like the Crunch Time guys. I've got people I consider friends now who are Lions fans. So if you guys want it, that'll be cool to watch. But the asshole in me would laugh my ass off if it just burnt to the ground. Just to watch the mob lose their minds. It would be must-watch TV. It would be funny. That would be funny, but it would be so entertaining to watch them lose their minds. If you can win them, would you like the Lions? Definitely over the Niners. Yeah. Depends on who they're playing. If they make it to the Super Bowl and they face the Chiefs, I'd probably be going for you guys. If it's like the Texans, Bengals, Ravens, I'd be neutral. If it's the Texans or Bengals or something like that, I'd probably root for them just because I really like Stroud and Burrow, and I really want them to get one. But I wouldn't mind if you guys won it. But God, the Jared Goff discourse would get crazy if you won a Super Bowl. So there'd be pros and cons to it. You guys would be cocky as hell, as you should be if you win it. Like I wouldn't blame you, but it would be like I'd have to take a break. But I would. It would be cool. I'd be happy for you guys. We'll just say that. God, you'd be unbearable if you won. As you should be, though. Like, we've been petty assholes since we won it as well. That's true. Yeah, fuck the Niners. Can we collectively get a fuck the Niners in the chat or in the chat? Fuck 'em. F the Niners. I will say this. I think the Lions, they're set up for success. Like, yeah, I like this. Fuck the Niners. Fuck them. That's where we can come together. Screw those guys. Hate them. I'm going to the Niners Rams games as well. But I think the Lions, to Broder's comment, I think you guys are set up for success like the Niners. But I do think you have a 1 or 2 year window, like this year, next year, where you do have to cash it in. Because not saying you guys won't be good after that because you've built a good core. Yeah, F the Cowboys as well. But with the way, like, your young guys are getting better, but there's also a world where in a couple years, Jared Goff, let's say like you can't quite cash it in this year and next year. There's a world where by the end of that, Caleb Williams and Jordan Love are hitting their peaks as well. And Jared Goff, there's a world where he ends up as the third best quarterback in a couple years. So I do think you you're set up for success, but you also like you got to cash it in when you can, because I'm sure the Bills thought they were going to make it back when they first went there. You know, not to say that like you can't be good, but like you got to cash it in when you can, because the Chiefs, they've just been running it for, and with Patrick Mahomes in the league, you got to take anyone you can. Like the Bengals, when they first made it there, I'm sure they thought they were getting back, and now they're kind of don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying you guys. I'm not saying like you guys will fall off. I just think in terms of like this is the time to do it, because like the Niners, I think they're gonna have a hangover. The Eagles, I think, will be really good, but I don't know if they're quite Super Bowl ready. Like, I think this is the weakest the NFC North is gonna be for a few years, because I think Jordan Love and Caleb Williams, if those two guys hit their ceiling, they're gonna be damn good. You know? Yeah. I just think, yeah, that's my point. Because like the Niners, they couldn't cash it in. Last year was their year to go. That was their year to win it. If it wasn't then, when's it going to be? I think if you guys don't win it this year or next year, it gets a little harder. You know, if we're being brutally honest here. Not saying you can't, but you know, you really got to cash it in, especially when Patrick Mahomes is in the league. But let's do these stat projections. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Hendon Hooker could be the thing. Like, he could be like, okay, I want to make this very clear. This could be your Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy. And I'm not saying Jared Goff is on the same level as Jimmy G. I'm just saying, like, Jimmy G kept, again, I want to make this clear. I'm not comparing Goff to Jimmy G as a player, but I'm saying, like, you have a few years with Goff, make the most out of him, and then you move it on to Hooker, and he can kind of keep it going. But then again, that's a better comparison, Smith to Mahomes. But then again, Brock Purdy was making $3 a week, so it's not completely the same. But if Hooker hits, then yeah, that'll extend your guys' window. If he's like the true franchise quarterback, then yeah. It'll be similar to like Alex Smith, Mahomes. Obviously not comparing the ability, but yeah. Dude, guys, before we get into these projections, I saw a post that said Jared Goff is one season away from being a lock to get into the Hall of Fame. I think we've lost, with all due respect, we've lost the plot here. Like, really? He would have to win MVP, throw 50 to like Goff Hall of Fame. Really? Really? 1 year away from being a lock? Guys, thank you. We've kept our sanity. There's actually sane people in the world. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Really Good. I think it was Honolulu Blues on Twitter. Yeah, he'd have to have he could Eli Manning his way in, but a lock is excessive. I mean, I don't know. Man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, really do. That's Hall of Fame is excessive in my opinion. Um, how do you quantify Hall of Fame anymore? Because there's still people who question whether Stafford should get in. So if Goff gets one, if he went, God, how are we even having this? If Goff wins it, but who like Rex Grossman won a Super Bowl, but like I don't know if Goff wins one, has an 3, 4, 5 years of getting back there, gets to another one, I don't know. Not saying it's impossible, but one season away from being a lock is ridiculous. Like we've lost the plot. Like 1 year away from being a lock. Not saying it's impossible, but come on. And even if he wins it, will he ever be viewed as like the main reason? Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to shit on Jared Goff. All right. The problem is when I disagree with that, it means I'm a hater in some people's eyes. But anyways, I've said this like 3 times. Let's get into the. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. If Goff wins one, if Goff wins two, we should get in. But I don't know how you quantify Hall of Fame anymore. Really don't. Okay, let's get into this. We're dragging this on too far. We're almost at 10:50 over there for some of you guys. Jeez. Yeah, Stafford should get in. There's just some people who think he shouldn't, which I think is crazy. But if he gets two, then it's like the Eli Manning thing, where it's like, especially if he gets a Super Bowl MVP, that would increase his odds. But I don't know. We'll get into these stat projections now. Got a little slideshow going here. Stat projections. Here we go. I've done this for all 32 quarterbacks. This is just my predictions. Probably won't happen. But everybody knows it wasn't Stafford's fault, though. It was the team. All right, let's do this. Let us do this. All right, so I'm not gonna be able to read the chat. Okay, you guys feel free to do it. I'll read them maybe later. But I can. Oh hell yeah. I didn't realize this. Oh damn. Okay. I thought it was gonna lock me in there. Okay, cool. Joe Milton number 1. Yeah, facts. So I've done yards, TDs, picks. That's what we're doing. Okay. Stat projections for every single starting quarterback in the NFL for 2024. I've done this in alphabetical order. So let's get going. First off, we got Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers will return. I don't think he'll be vintage Aaron Rodgers, but I think he'll have a very solid year. His career averages are around 33 TDs and 7 picks. I don't think he'll throw for top 5 level yards this year, but because of Breece Hall there, I think they're going to run the ball a lot. But I think the Rodgers to Garrett Wilson connection will be lethal, and I think he throws. Like I said, with Breece Hall there, I don't think he throws a godly amount of touchdowns, and I do question whether he can be prime Aaron Rodgers, but I think 33 TDs, right around there, 7 INTs. He's always been very safe with the football, and I think that with this year, with this roster, I think he'll be at around 33 TDs, 7 picks, 4,300 yards. It won't be vintage Aaron Rodgers, but it'll still be at a top 10 level. I think they've upgraded the offensive line. You've got Garrett Wilson there. If Mike Williams can stay healthy, Breece Hall as another receiving back. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a very good year this year. Next up, Anthony Richardson. Now, that is true. This doesn't take into account rushing yards. I think he'll get around 700-800 rushing yards, maybe, and maybe another 6 or 7 rushing TDs. So we could get 30 total TDs, but I think in terms of passing, I think we'll get around 3,300. It'll be similar amount of passing yards to like Lamar Jackson's MVP year, right? And I do think he'll throw around 22. I think, like, when you look at his stats last year, he had 4 games, 577 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick, but he was getting knocked out of the game quite a lot. So those numbers are a little deceiving. I think total yardage, he'll be around 4,000. Passing, I think he'll get around 3,300. You could maybe say higher because of the weapons, but I think he'll rush for more. I think he could be a quarterback that'll go like, I think he'll be a quarterback that could go. I think a lot of his stat lines will look like 15 for 22, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and then maybe 9 rushes for 50 yards. That might be what his game by game stat line is. I do think he throws some picks because he has been struggling a little bit in preseason with picks, and his accuracy is a little. I don't think he'll be throwing the ball enough to have 14, 15, 16 picks. I think he'll have around 11. He's got good weapons. I think Anthony Richardson will have a very good year, and he'll have maybe around 600 rushing yards, 6 or 7 rushing TDs. So his total yardage will look a lot better. Next up, Mr. Baker Mayfield. In Baker Mayfield's 2 years where he's had really like a functional situation, he's had around 4,000 yards, 26 to 28 touchdowns, 8 to 10 picks. I don't see why it would change this year. Last year he had, I think, around 4,000 yards, 28 TDs to like 10 picks. I think it's the same. I think this is who Baker Mayfield is. He's a solid quarterback around middle of the road. I think his yardage will stay the same. Touchdowns will stay the same. I think it's going to be pretty similar to last year. He's got one of the best offensive tackles in the game. He's got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rachaad White. I think will be another. I think he's a great receiving back. So I think this will be around his year. I think he'll have a similar year to what he did last year. And his averages are around 25 TDs, 13 picks. I think he'll throw a little less than his career average. And I think this was, his career high in yards was last year at 4,000. I think he has another 100 onto there. I think this will be around where Baker's at for most of his career. Bo Nix, this was a tough one because in preseason, he hasn't been throwing for a lot of yards. And I do think the talent around him isn't going to allow him to put up these great numbers, but I think he'll be efficient. I like what I've seen from Bo Nix. I wasn't too high on him coming out of the draft, but I do like what he's been showing. I think he will. You could say he could pass for some more. I just don't think the talent on offense will allow him to do that. Like Bryce Young last year didn't have a lot of talent around him, and he had 2,800 passing yards. I think Bo Nix will have a few hundred more than that. He'll have some rushing yards on top of that. I think he'll get around 19 TDs, 9 picks. It'll be an efficient season from Bo Nix. I just think the talent around him won't really allow him to have the eye-popping numbers, but I think he'll be fine. Like, I don't think these numbers are a big insult. Like, he'll run for 4, 5, 6 TDs. He won't throw too many picks. I just think he'll have around an average, solid rookie year. And yeah, I think he is more decisive than Bryce Young, which is why he'll only throw around 9 picks. I think this will be Bo Nix's rookie. I think that'll be respectable. I wouldn't take this as an insult. I think this would be respectable given the situation he has. I mean, his wide receiver one, you got Cortland Sutton, who's good, but then Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims. Like, aside from that, the talent around him isn't there for him to put up the eye-popping numbers, but I think he'll be efficient this year. Next up, Mr. Brock Purdy. Similar to kind of Baker. I think this is where he'll stay the same. He'll be at around the same. Last year, he had around 4,200 yards, and he only played in 16 games. I think he'll be playing in 17 this year, so that puts his number up to around 4,400. He still has Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuels are still going to be a good yak guy. You still got George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey's a good receiving back. And like I said, similar to the Baker Mayfield thing, I think what he did last year will be similar to what he does this year. I think he'll have games where he does throw a couple picks, and he'll have games where he's incredibly efficient. I think he'll have a high passer rating. Now, if Trent Williams does hold out, he could throw some more picks because that offensive line outside of Trent Williams isn't very good. But I think Brock Purdy will have another season like this, 4,400 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. Last year he had 31 touchdowns, 11 picks. I think this will be a similar type of year from him, around 100 passer rating. I think last year was probably the best we're going to see from Purdy in his career in terms of stats. I think as a player he could get better, but I think this is where he'll stay at around this type of production. Bryce Young, last year, Bryce Young had 2,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 picks. So when you think about it, I think he'll throw for more yards. I think he'll throw for more touchdowns. And I think in terms of picks, he might throw a similar amount. I think this is a similar season to Bo Nix. I think he'll get better. But once again, this will be, compared to last year, this will be a decent jump, right? But once again, he needs to show me more in order for me to put him at like 3,600, 25 TDs. I think he'll get there eventually, but this Panthers roster still isn't great. But they've added Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, so I think there'll be improvement. I think he might throw a couple more picks just because I think he might try to push the ball down the field a little bit more. But I think he'll throw more touchdowns, more yards. It'll be an overall improvement from Bryce Young, but nothing eye-popping due to I'm not too high on him as a player, and the offensive line still isn't very good, but he's got a decent weapon, so it'll be a little bit of an increase from Bryce Young. Caleb Williams this year, I think he will be the first Bears quarterback ever to throw for 4,000 yards. I think 4,100's completely fair. 2, 3, 400 rushing maybe. Now, I do think he will throw some picks just because you watch him in the preseason. He's a very, and even in college, he didn't throw a ton of picks in college, but he's a very home run style of quarterback. So I think he might struggle early on. His offensive line isn't great. So he might throw some picks early on. I think he'll throw around 13 picks. But I think he'll be the best quarterback the Bears have had in a very long time. I think 4,100 yards, 26 TDs. I think that's around like CJ Stroud last year had 23 TDs, around the same amount of yards, less picks. He did play in 15 games. But I think Caleb, it'll be some good, some bad. I think this is what this stat line kind of reflects. I don't think they have a great running game, so I do think he'll throw the ball a lot, which will lead to him getting to that 4,000 yard mark. But he'll throw a lot of TDs. He'll throw some picks. It'll be up and down. But I still think he's going to have a very good rookie year. I still think he's going to be a stud in the NFL. Next up, CJ Stroud. Man, I have high hopes for CJ Stroud. I think he's going to have an MVP caliber season. Last year, he led the league in yards per game, took care of the football, and I think his touchdown numbers are going to skyrocket this year with Nico Collins taking a step, Tank Dell being healthy for the full year, and you add Stephon Diggs in there as well. I think CJ Stroud is going to put up eye-popping numbers and really enter that consensus top 5 realm. I think he's got one of the best left tackles protecting him as well, and Laramie Tunsil. And I think, once again, similar to Caleb, Joe Mixon's good, but they're definitely going to be a throw-heavy team. He can throw for a ton of yards, and I think I agree with you guys. I think he has an MVP caliber season. I think, and especially like in 17 games, the numbers are only going to go up. So I think 4,700 yards, 37 TDs, 9 INTs. He takes care of the football, and I don't think he'll have the down games that he had last year. I think he's going to have a killer year. I really do. So CJ Stroud, look out for him in the MVP race for sure. Next up, Rayne Dakota Prescott. I do believe that Dak will throw for a lot of yards simply because who are they running the ball with, right? So he's going to throw for a lot of yards. He does tend to throw for a lot of yards in his career. And but I do think outside of CeeDee Lamb, they don't really have a great receiving option. So I think his touchdown numbers might dip a little bit because I think the Eagles defense will be better. I think the Giants defense will be a little bit better. So I think this is around Dak's career average. 4,600 yards, 20-something touchdowns, 9, 10, 11 INTs. I don't think he'll throw as many picks as people think, but I think the Cowboys are going to be down in games more. So I think he'll throw a lot of yards. He'll also throw some picks. It'll be a solid year from Dak. but I don't like the Cowboys supporting cast much. I don't think he has the career year that he had last year. Danny Dimes, man, I'm not a believer. That Giants offense is just bad. And I mean, Daniel Jones, his career high in passing yards is 3,200. And I think he'll be. I mean, they don't have outside of. I mean, Malik Neighbors might be nice, but aside from that, you see him in preseason, he's cooked. I'm sorry, Giants fans, he's cooked. I don't think he'll be a pick machine, but I also don't think he'll air it out a lot. Like that offense is just going to be bad. Like I think this is similar to Bryce Young last year and Danny Dimes. Even in his year that got him the contract, he threw 15 touchdowns. So I mean, it's looking bleak. And that offensive line, aside from Andrew Thomas, is horrible. So I think Daniel Jones has a mid-year, to be honest. This is kind of what you should expect from Daniel Jones. Next up, Derek Carr. Last year he had, I think it was like 3,800, 25 TDs, 8 picks. I think this, Derek Carr, he's had some years where he's had a lot of yards, some years where he's not had as many. I think with this Saints offense, I think Chris Olave is the only true real weapon on this offense. I don't think he throws for a ton of yards, and I think he's definitely getting out of his prime. So you look at Derek Carr, he's fine. 23 TDs, 10 picks. Like this is just the year that you expect from Derek Carr. His offensive line might be better with the addition of Fuaga, but outside of Olave, I don't think this offense is going to be very good. Alvin Kamara is only getting older. So I think this is around right for Derek Carr. I don't see him throwing for. I mean, last year he threw for 3,800. I don't see how he gets higher than that. And the picks, 10 picks, around league average. I think all of this is around league average. 3,800, 23 TDs, 10 picks. Derek Carr is average. The stats are average. Next up, Deshaun Watson. I think it's similar to Carr. I think he's a similar caliber player to Derek Carr. You could argue his passing yards could be higher, but I'm not a huge. What did I have Derek Carr at? Oh shoot, what happened? Oh, he'll have the same passing yards as Derek Carr probably. So you could say 3,800, but 3,700 is around the same. What we've seen from Deshaun Watson, objectively, when you look at it, since he's gotten to Cleveland, he's been objectively a bottom 10 quarterback. And I don't know if their run game will be as good as it has been in previous years with Nick Chubb and Watson. You saw it last year. He had times where he looked good, times where he didn't look good at all. So I think he'll throw around 3,700 yards, 21 TDs, 12 picks. Amari Cooper is a great receiver. Aside from that, Jerry Jeudy, he's objectively not been a great player. So if Watson, if he changes his style of play into a game manager and he kind of puts his ego aside and realizes that he's not going to be that Deshaun Watson of 2020, he could tone down the picks a little bit. But I still think, you hear him in press conferences, he's like, it's been tough to block out the noise. Like, I think he's in his head. I think he might try to be something that he isn't. But if he can be a game manager, the picks might go down. But this is kind of what I think he'll do. Now, I know he might not be the starter, but I wanted to put Drake May because I think he's the more interesting. Like Jacoby Brissett, like that's not really like interesting because like Jacoby Brissett will do. Like I think Drake May, like it's more fun to project what he'll do, because he's like a rookie. So I think Drake May, if he starts, Patriots offense is putrid, but he has had a nice start to the preseason. So I think he'd have a solid amount of yards, 20 TDs, 11 picks. Like I think he will take care of the ball, but I think in college he did have some inconsistencies and his receivers aren't great. So I think he'll throw, or if he does start, I think he'd throw around league average picks. But I think this is like similar to Bo Nix, an efficient, good rookie year, given the talent around him. So I don't think people will judge him too much off of this year because the talent he has around him. But I think if he starts, this is probably what he'll be able to do. Gardner Minshew, similar thing. Game manager. These are the types of game manager numbers. I don't think he'll be able to lean on the run game as much as he did last year, so that might lead to him throwing a couple more picks. But doesn't this just look like Gardner Minshew stats, right? 3,600, 19 TDs, 11 picks. Raiders offense doesn't really have much outside of Adams, so I think Gardner Minshew, he'll be fine. This stat line is a definition of fine. He'll be fine. 3,600, 19 TDs, around 11, 10, 11 picks. I think this is fair for Gardner Minshew. Geno Smith's an interesting one because in his year where he broke out, he had 4,200, 30 TDs, 10 picks, 11 picks. Then last year, his touchdown numbers went down by a lot, but his picks stayed about the same. And he does have a nice arsenal of weapons, so I think he has a career high year in terms of yardage. And I think that the touchdown numbers will be kind of like his first year with Seattle. He had 30, last year at 20. I think he'll get back to it like in the middle of that. I don't think he'll get back to his peak in Seattle, but I think he takes good care of the football. I think he'll take better care of the football. Geno Smith's a good quarterback. I think 4,200 yards, 26 TDs, 10 picks, considering the weapons he has. I think Geno Smith has a good year. I think it's a good year. Like I said, DK Metcalf. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba's breakout will be big for Geno Smith. So I think Geno Smith will have a good year. Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts breaks 4,000 passing yards for the first time in his career. I think Jalen Hurts I think he'll go back to more of the 2022 Jalen Hurts, who was the MVP front runner. I think the passing. I think this will be a career year in terms of passing yards and passing touchdowns. He's got receiving weapons galore. Saquon Barkley is a good receiving back, and I don't think they might not be as good at the tush push this year because Jason Kelsey's not there. So I think that will result in more passing touchdowns for him, and I think he'll still get more. I think he'll get 8, 9 rushing TDs. So I think he'll have around 35 total TDs. I think he'll be more efficient in Kellen Moore's offense, and I think he breaks 4,000 yards for the first time in his career. So big year incoming from Jalen Hurts. I think he'll have around 4,700 total yards, 35 total TDs. He'll be clean with the football. Big year incoming from Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff has probably a career year. I think this will be Jared Goff's best season in the NFL, simply because this is the best supporting cast he's arguably had, and a lot of his games are in a dome. So that definitely helps out Jared Goff. Last year, he had 4,500. I think this year he has 4,500. His career high in touchdowns is 32. I think he hits that. And I think around 10 picks. That's been around his career average, aside from the couple years with the Rams where, he struggled with picks. I think he'll, the last 2 years he's had 29 TDs, 7 picks, 30 TDs, 12 picks. I think this will be probably his best season. I think he'll be top 5, 6 in yards, 32 TDs, 10 picks. It'll be similar to Brock Purdy. Very good year incoming from Jared Goff. He's got all the weapons. He's got the great offensive line, great running game that he can lean on, and his play action that'll open up more play action sets. He's deadly in play action. I don't think he'll have the upper echelon stats of the bigger guys in the league, but I think he'll do great. Jaden Daniels is an interesting one because I think his total yardage will be more than this. I think he'll easily could have 800 rushing yards right off the bat. But in terms of passing, they haven't exactly been airing it out a ton in preseason. So I think he'll have around 3,400 yards. I think 21 TDs through the air. I think maybe another 8 or 9 through the ground. So he'll get around 30 TDs, around 11 interceptions. I think Jaden Daniels will challenge. I think he will have just as good, if not a better, rookie season than Caleb Williams. I think Terry McLaurin will break through this year. Has lost Jahan Dotson, so that's not amazing. But I think Luke McCaffrey will be a sleeper pick. And I think, like I said, he'll be electric on the ground. So these won't be his total yardage numbers. But very good season coming from Jaden Daniels. I think he'll take relatively good care of the football. Might throw a couple picks or a couple more picks than what we're used to, but I think he'll get close to 30 total TDs. close to 4,000 total yards. It's going to be a great year from Jaden Daniels. Do worry about his offensive line, though. And I think Lamar is my exact comp for Jaden Daniels. Joe Burrow, MVP type season incoming from Joe Burrow. I think this will be his best year yet. I think when you look at it, he's had a history of starting seasons slow, and he still ends up with 34, 35 touchdowns, right? I think he's going to start the year a lot faster this year because he's healthier going into the season than he has been in previous years. And the Bengals' schedule this year is very easy, and they're obviously a pass-heavy offense. So I think Joe Burrow potentially leads the league in passing yards. I think he gets 4,800. I think he cracks the 40 touchdown mark, 10 picks, 4-1 touchdown interception ratio. I think that Joe Burrow has a career year this year. He's still got Jamar Chase, who I think is going to have a hell of a year. T. Higgins is still there. I love the addition of Jermaine Burton. This passing offense is going to be great. And I'm a big Joe Burrow believer. I think he starts off the seasons faster than he has in recent years, which will lead to his stat line being a little bit better than, because like you think about it, in 2022, he started off the year terribly and he still had 35 TDs, 12 picks. Like, I think career year income from Joe Burrow. And Jamar Chase has said that he's going to be there. So, and I even think that not having Joe Mixon means they're going to throw the ball more and he's going to put up crazy numbers. So, I think Joe Burrow has a great year. Jordan Love. Big year incoming from Jordan Love. I think he takes that next step. I don't think he doesn't really have that wide receiver one, so he might not have as many yards as like a Joe Burrow or CJ Stroud, but last year he had 4,100. I think if he maintains his play throughout the second half like he did in the second half throughout the whole year, I think his yardage numbers will go up a bit. I think around 34 TDs is more than fair. He had 32 last year. I think he'll throw a couple less picks this year because I don't think he'll quite have the rough patches that he did last year. I don't think he'll be in the MVP race or anything, but I expect a very good year from Jordan Love. He's got a lot of weapons in terms of, he hasn't got the upper end weapons, but they're going to be spreading the ball around a lot. And I think Jordan Love, like I said last year, he had 4,100 passing yards and he struggled for a month. I don't think that struggle is going to happen as much this year. So I think his numbers will go up just a little bit. I think he'll do similar to last year, but I think he'll be more consistent throughout the year, which means his touchdowns and yards will be slightly higher and interceptions slightly lower. So I think Jordan Love establishes himself as a true franchise quarterback this year. He's going to be really good. Josh Allen. Last year he had, I think, 4,300 passing yards, 29 TDs, 18 picks. He did lose Diggs, did lose Gabe Davis. So, but I still think there'll be more of a dink and dunk team. So his yards could go down a little bit, but in terms of, I don't think he'll throw as many picks this year because he won't be pushing it down the field as much without Diggs and Gabe Davis. I think he might be more turnover free. Still 14 though, because he's Josh Allen. But I think could have close to 5,000 total yards because he is the offense now. I mean, he's gonna have to really take the load now more. Pause, because he has Diggs and Gabe Davis aren't going to be there. But I think total TDs for Allen, he gets over 40 again. I think he has 10, 11 rushing TDs, 31 passing touchdowns, I think is fair considering the weapons. He doesn't really have the weapons that he has in previous years. So I think his touchdown numbers might go down, but I think his efficiency might actually go up a little bit because I don't think he'll be pushing it down the field as much. I think he'll be a bit more dink and dunk. So Josh Allen will have a typical Josh Allen year. He'll get 40 total TDs, close to 5,000 total yards. He'll do what Josh Allen normally does. Justin Herbert. Herbert, I think, gets back to the Justin Herbert that we're used to seeing. I don't think he has the eye-popping numbers due to his offensive weapons not being great. I don't think he'll have the eye-popping yards like he has in the past. But I still think he'll return to a similar year to Jordan Love. 4,300 yards, around 30 TDs, 11 picks. I think that'll be more than respectable. I do think he'll throw some picks, similar to Allen, because he doesn't quite have the, like Herbert, like he's a gunslinger, similar to Stafford. So he'll throw some picks, but he'll have a very good season with Justin Herbert, or not that makes sense, with Jim Harbaugh, excuse me. I think he'll get back to, because like in his first 2 years, in his rookie year, he had around this exact thing. I think he'll have similar to his rookie year. And I think the defense might be better. So that might not result in him getting like, in his second year, he had 5,000 yards, 38 TDs. I don't think he'll have to do that, but I think he's going to be very good. Kirk Thuggins. Kirk Cousins this year. I mean, Kirk Cousins always puts up great stats, right? I don't think he'll have as many yards as he used to because I think Bijan Robinson will take more of the. I think Bijan will be the center of the offense this year. So I mean, this is just a Kirk Cousins stat line. I think he normally throws around 30 TDs. He averages around 10 picks a year. I think this will be a career average year from Kirk. I don't think it'll be the best we've seen from him, won't be the worst we've seen from him. And that offense, he should have a Brock Purdy, Jared Goff type of season in terms of stat line. He'll throw for, and I think the Falcons' defense will be very good this year. So I think Cousins will, like I said, he won't have as many yards because of Bijan, but I think 30 TDs, 10 picks, that's around above average for Kirk. I think it'll be a good year for Kirk Cousins. Nearing the end, we got Kyler Murray this year. This is a tough one to project. I do think he has a career year in terms of passing yards because, first of all, I think they're going to be coming from behind a lot. And secondly, Marvin Harrison Jr. and him are about to go off. They're about to go off. His career high in passing yards is 3,900, which was a 16-game season. In the 17 games, I think he'll be able to reach that. And throughout his career, he's taken relatively good care of the football. I think he'll throw around 9 picks this year. I think Marvin Harrison will probably be the best receiver he's had aside from Johnny Hopkins. So I think Kyler Murray will get back. You see in 2020, he had 26 TDs, 12 picks, 2021, 24, 10 picks. I think Kyler Murray will get back to being Kyler Murray. He might throw a couple more picks. I think he'll be efficient this year. And yeah, man, I think having Marvin Harrison as a security blanket might lower the picks maybe a little bit. So I think Kyler Murray, career year in terms of passing yards, he averages in his full seasons around 25 passing TDs, 10 to 11 picks. I think he'll go down by 1 pick. It'll be a good year from Kyler Murray. Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's never hit 4,000 yards, but he doesn't really need to, right? Because he's rushing for nearly 1,000 yards. I think, last year he had 3,600, and he didn't play the 17th game. I think he'll play the 17th game this year, which will get him to 3,800. And similar to Allen, it'll be 28 TDs, probably 7, 8 rushing TDs. So it'll add up to 35, 36 total TDs. He's always super efficient. I don't see him throwing many picks this year because the offense is going to be very similar to what it was last year. They're going to be rush heavy. So he won't have the eye-popping yards or touchdowns. So he's going to be very efficient. I think he probably adds nearly 1,000 yards on top of this with rushing. So I think his total yards will be around 4,700, then 35 TDs, a few fumbles in there. But, it's going to be a typical Lamar Jackson season. I do have concerns about the wide receiver position, and his offensive line doesn't look great. But I think Lamar is going to be Lamar. He'll have a top 5, top 6 season. Matty Stafford. I think Stafford's a sleeper MVP candidate this year. I don't think he wins it. And I do think that Kyren will be the centerpiece of the offense. But when you've got Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, the weapons that they have, I think Stafford's going to have another tremendous, tremendous year. He always throws for a lot of yards. So I think he gets around 4,600, similar to the likes of Jared Goff. I think his touchdown numbers will go up. I think he'll be like last year. He had some moments where he was up and down, so the touchdown numbers didn't add up. I think he'll have maybe not quite as good as his 2021 year where he won the Super Bowl. He had 41 TDs, 17 picks. I think he'll get back up to around 30 plus TDs, 13 picks. Stafford's going to have a tremendous year this year. He does throw picks. So he'll have his picks. But I think with that offense, they're going to be a video game. And I think Stafford has another tremendous year. Sleeper for MVP this year. He'll be top 5. Yeah, very similar year to Jared Goff. But I think with this offense, this might be the best offense he's had since he's been with the Rams. This might be the best offense he's had in his whole career. So I think that will result in a career year from Matthew Stafford. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, what do we have to say? I mean, are we going to deny it? I mean, Patrick Mahomes, last year had a down year. He's not having 2 down years in a row. This is about what you'd expect the Patrick Mahomes season 2 look like. I think with his new weapons, he's going to throw for a lot more yards. He averages around 4,700 yards. I think his picks will go down this year because he's not having to force it as much. I think there'll be a much more efficient offense. There'll be more dink and dunk. So I think he'll be more efficient. He's gonna have similar numbers to Stroud and Burrow, who I have in the MVP race. It's gonna be a great year from Patrick Mahomes. Top 3 in MVP voting. I think with Xavier Worthy there, that's gonna be Yak. Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown when he gets back. They're gonna be Yak machines, which will increase his yardage. Still got Travis Kelce there. It's gonna be a MVP-like year for Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna be great. How many do I have left? Okay, we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. It's getting a bit late. Russell Wilson. In Pittsburgh, I think last year, he had 3,000 passing yards in 15 games. With the extra 2 games, I think that gets him up to 3,400. But it's not looking great in preseason. He has not looked very good. I think he's nearing the end of his career. So I think he'll be in the Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson category. I do like George Pickens. That's where a lot of his yards will come from. But Russell Wilson's best days are behind him. I think he plays, it's like I said, similar to last year. Efficient. He doesn't need to put up great numbers. Like the defense will carry him and the offensive line, and they've got a good system around him. So he'll be efficient, but he's not going to be the old Russell Wilson, in my opinion. I think this will be, last year he had 3,000 yards, 26 TDs, 8 picks. I think his TDs go lower, picks go up a little bit. He'll be fine. Nothing special. Sam Darnold. It's tough to make a prediction because he hasn't had a full season, right? But in Kevin O'Connell's offense, I think he'll throw for a decent amount of yards. He'll have a career high in touchdowns. This will be a career year, which isn't saying much because he's been awful. But he's still going to throw picks. Sam Darnold, he's always struggled with turnovers. But he'll be a game manager, and these are game manager kind of numbers, right? 3,600 yards, 21 TDs, 13 picks. Justin Jefferson will increase his yardage numbers by a lot. If Jordan Addison's there as well, he's got nice weapons around him. This is the best situation he's had, and I think it'll result in the best career he's had, or the best career year he's had. So I think Sam Darnold has a solid year. Nothing special. Trevor Lawrence. Interesting one because I think this might be his best career. I think this will be his best year as well, but it's not saying much because he hasn't really had that breakout year yet. And I think, like, Trevor Lawrence, how do I say this? Like, his career high in passing yards, I think, is 4,000. And in his career year that he had in 2022, he had 4,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. I think he gets back to around that. I still think he throws some picks because he does have slightly a bit of a turnover issue. He has the most turnovers since he entered the league. But I think Lawrence I think if he stays healthy throughout the year, he'll have a better year. I think he'll do what he did throughout the first half of the season, throughout the whole year. Still won't be in the MVP race. He'll be around the 10th or 11th best quarterback in the league, which I think reflects in these numbers. I think he has the most passing yards he's had, most touchdowns he's had. Around picks will be around the same as it was last year. So he'll be good, not great. A 2 and Will Levis left. Tua Tagovailoa, and that Dolphins offense, you're going to put up passing yards. That's just how it is. With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, he led the league in passing yards last year. I think he has around the same this year. Last year, he had 29 touchdowns to 14 picks, actually. I think he tones down those picks a little bit and has a similar amount of TDs. His offensive line did get slightly worse, so I do worry about that. But as long as you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and that running game that they have, there's no excuse for you not to have a lot of yards, touchdowns, picks. Like, I think similar, like I said, with Brock Purdy, I think what we saw from Tua last year will be about what he does year in, year out. So I think this will be what, excuse me, this will be around what he does 4,500 yards. He'll be near the top of the league in yards, 30 TDs, 10 picks. Very similar season to like a Brock Purdy. Then we got Will Levis. I think Will Levis will have a good year for sure. He's got good receiving weapons, so you could argue his yards could be a bit higher. So I still have question marks about the O line. I do. Um, but I think Will Levis, again, similar to some of the other quarterbacks, like the middle of the pack quarterbacks. I think Will Levis has a good year, nothing spectacular. Last year he had that great game versus Atlanta and kind of struggled with consistency. I think he'll be kind of in and out of form. Last year he had 9 games with 8 TDs. I think that'll go up by a bit. I think he'll increase it with the weapons he has, Ridley, Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd. He'll get to around 24 TDs. He threw 8 picks or not 8 picks, 4 picks in 9 games last year. I think he'll take more of a ownership of the offense. I think he'll throw around 12 picks, but he'll be good. This is a good year for Will Levis. If I'm a Titans fan, I'm happy with how this year is for Will Levis. So I think that's around what he'll get. I think he's got the weapons to have a good year, and I think this will be around his career average. I don't think he'll be a great quarterback, but I think solid year and coming from Will Levis. And those are my quarterback stat projections for the 2024 NFL season. Didn't think it would go on this late, boys. Sorry. Damn, it's 11:30 there. I feel so bad. We'll do 5-minute mailbag, and then we'll get you guys out of here. You guys got to get some sleep. Thinking about doing this 3 days a week from now on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday will be the normal schedule. Next week, because of the game on Friday, I might do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I might have some guests on the show. So I'm thinking about doing 3 days a week. 5 days a week, which is a bit too much. Like, I have to do the prep every day, like upload the videos, think of the topics. Like, it was a bit too much for me. So I'm going to tone it down to 3 shows a week. Hope you guys understand. You think so? You might. I think he's average, though. And I just think 21 TDs is like, that's average, Appreciate it. And I saw your comment about Stafford career year. It won't be a career year, but it'll be one of his better years. Kind of what I meant. All right, Coach Walk. See you later, bro. Appreciate you. Get some sleep, man. I didn't mean for it to be this late. My apologies. It was meant to be around an hour. We've gone 23 minutes over. See you later, Coach. Good. Definitely could. Any questions before I get you guys out of here? Appreciate you, Coach. Stay on for 2 minutes for questions, and then I'll get you guys out of here. See you, Derek. Appreciate you. The season should be fun. Should be very fun. I'm with you. Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. Exactly. I think CJ Burrow and Mahomes. And I don't hate that at all. Yeah, I think CJ Burrow and Mahomes will kind of run away with that as the top 3. I'll do my award predictions next week. You got to throw Mahomes in there. I think Burrow, Stroud, Mahomes. That's kind of the 3 that I think will have a great year. You got to project that they're healthy, in my opinion. All right. You know what? We'll wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you like the stream. I always forget to say that at the start. Like the stream. And I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. We'll see. Peace.